Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan once more with you from your very own channel Astro. From time immemorial, if there is one skill, one competence which has stood out as one of the vehicles to success, it is communication skills. And since when man has learned to communicate, whether with his non-verbal skills, whether with his language, or whether it is in a written format, it has been a dividing line between people who have been super successful or people who have been duds or not have had this desired success, even the deserved success. And history is replete with examples that many people who have been great speakers have turned out to be people who are also most remembered. And when we look back at people's lives, we remember people through their sayings. We remember Jesus Christ, we remember Moses, we remember Muhammad, we remember Newton, we remember an Einstein, through how they have also been able to communicate their ideas, and through that communication they have also been able to influence people and also been able to sell their ideas to people, and people have accepted those, and hence these people have been able to contribute a lot and have also made a name for themselves in the history books forever. So communication skill is the skeleton or the backbone of success, super success. In any field that you see, communication is the vehicle of how you carry your ideas, you convince people, and you are able to get people to sign up. And communication has never been more important than in today's time, where through WhatsApp or through social media or through this platform or any platform, if you see super success, you will always see communication being one of the most critical areas where people have used those skills and been successful. If you see media or medium like TikTok or Twitter, again, those people who have made huge names for themselves, overnight successes, is been through an idea or a thought that they've been able to put across. Many of the viral videos also that we see, even funny videos, something funny happening, it's about something funny or something impressive has been said in the communication. People may dress up in a certain way and then say something. So if you're very good looking, you're a model, you're a celebrity, then you have a certain following. If you are somebody who is a media star because you're witty, you're funny, then people will follow. If you are a politician, then too people will follow, because you have reached that pinnacle because of how you have been able to present your ideas across or yourself across. Now, it's not only about verbal communication, it's also about non-verbal communication, which is also at the base of the building that you create for your success. So let's look at some of the examples of how communication skills can be something which can really lead you to success. And have you been missing out on those planetary placements, which if you add, which will help, which you strengthen, then you may be able to develop those factors which will help you to be able to communicate your ideas better, influence people better, sell what you want to do better. Now, at the heart of communication is the planet Mercury. Mercury is not only about verbal communication, your language skills, but it is also about use of hands, because through hands you are able to communicate a lot of things, and through your language, of course, you are able to communicate. So your hands coupled with the spoken language is a very, very powerful medium. Just imagine if somebody is standing stiff in front of the camera using the best of language, but they are stiff and their hands are at the side throughout their communication, then the communication will not be strong enough, and people may in fact not pay attention to their spoken word. They will pay more attention to their body language, because the body language is not precise to what is being said. The person is too stiff. So it's very, very important that you combine non-verbal skills along with verbal. What is important in non-verbal communication? The face. Of course, the hands, which Mercury represents, but also the face. Your smile, where you're looking, how you're looking, if you're blinking too often, or if you're staring into the camera, all these are part of your communication skills. And also whether you're smirking, whether you're raising your eyebrows, you're frowning, all of these are part of the communication skills. And here Venus comes to the fore, because your face is about Venus, it's about the second house. So Mercury and Venus are at the core of communication, the verbal communication and the written communication, and the hands used communication is all about Mercury. And the facial expression, how well you look, how well you are able to convince people through some flowery language that you use, sophisticated language that you use, what you wear, all that is added, is taken up by Venus or represented by Venus, including the fragrance that you wear is also all represented by Venus. So Mercury and Venus are critical. And the third element is the second house. If you have a poor or an afflicted second house, then your communication will suffer and you have to struggle a lot on your Mercury and your Venus to be able to influence others, because the second house is also very, very important, and placements in the second house, doshas or yogas in the second house are important. So these three are the backbone of your communication. The second house should be great, strong. Mercury and Venus should also be strong and placed well. Now the other factor is that how do you communicate, which means that if your Venus is placed in a certain placement, then how do you utilize it? Say for example, if Mercury goes into the 11th house, then your communication, especially if you are trying to influence people, should be around society, societal causes, larger causes. Then people will be able to understand what you're saying, will also pay attention to you, because your Mercury is placed in the 11th house or connected to the 11th house, because it rules the 11th house. But if Mercury is connected to the 9th house or placed in the 9th house, then you should be talking about higher education, change and development which comes about, because the 9th house is the house of fate and luck, opening of new doors, so that you bring about a change in people's lives, in their fate and luck. But if Mercury gets connected to the 4th house, then it's about assets. You talk about assets. You convince people by telling them you can have a beautiful home, you will have a better life, your family will have a better life. Then you appeal to the family, the domestic life, if Mercury gets there. And many times we miss out. Whatever you want to say, if you bring, for example, if you're a politician, then you can talk whatever you want, but if you talk linked to where your Mercury is placed, then you will be able to influence people better. And this is something that people miss out. If you are a career person, if your Mercury gets into the 10th house, then talking about the development of the company, growth of people in the company will all appeal to people more. If your Mercury is in the 7th house, for example, and it's not only about Mercury, I'm here combining overall communication skills, but predominantly talking about Mercury. If your Mercury or the strength of Mercury or your communication gets connected to the 7th house, then talking about all other people and telling people that how your life will change, how there will be an upliftment in your life. If you vote for me, if you allow me to be a representative, how I will be able to bring a change in all your life. That is the 7th house. So how you use your communication and whether you should use the communication in a certain manner or the other manner is all about how Mercury is placed, strong or weak, whether in yoga or dosha, which houses it is placed, and how you should use your communication linked to the karakas of the house, linked to the areas of the house, to be able to communicate and influence. Today I want to present to you two different examples. One person, a great communicator, and strongly based on his communication skills, he has been able to lead the world and risen to the top echelons of society as a leader, and somebody who is a great writer, accomplished writer, and has a rags to riches story. So let's jump into both the horoscopes and see how different placements have made them experts in different areas of communication and risen them to the top of the league and super success. Now first I want to talk about the horoscope of Barack Obama, the president of the US, who was the president from 2009 to 2017. He ran successfully for 2 terms of being the president of the US. And if you see his horoscope, and before his horoscope, if you see his life, he was a US senator only for 4 years, representing Illinois only for 4 years. And only after 4 years of public service at the highest level, being a senator, he jumped into the fray, running for being the president of the US, and won. But why did he win? One of the key areas of his representation to be the US president was his communication skill, and he focused on the change for people in people's lives. So let's see his horoscope. Now there are three things that I talked about in communication skills which are important. First, I talked about Mercury, and if you see, Mercury is placed in the sign of Cancer in his 7th house. I also talked about how the 7th house is about telling people or talking to people or influencing people about them, because the focus is not on you first, not on yourself, not on the Lagna, but on the 7th house of all other people, and Mercury is placed here. So when you communicate to people that you care, because Mercury is in the sign of Cancer, where you tell people that I understand you, I empathize with you, I support you, I care for you, and if you make me the leader, because Sun and Mercury are placed together, then I will bring about a change in your life. This is also important because Sun is placed in the nakshatra of Aslesha, and we know that Aslesha is ruled by Mercury. So Sun being placed in the nakshatra of Aslesha and in the sign of Cancer, which means a leader who uses his communication skill to convince people that I stand for you. And if you see the Lagna is of Capricorn, and both Jupiter and Saturn, both of them are retrograde and in the nakshatra of Uttarashada, and Uttarashada is ruled by the Sun. So both Jupiter and Saturn in the nakshatra of Uttarashada, which is ruled by Sun, and Sun going into the nakshatra of Mercury. So a very, very powerful connection, especially because Jupiter and Saturn represent law, administration, political power, and Sun represents leadership, and both are in mutual aspect of each other. That's one placement. Secondly, Ketu is placed in the 2nd house. So now normally Ketu should negate the results of the 2nd house of language or communication. However, where is Ketu placed? Ketu is placed in the nakshatra of Dhanishta, and Dhanishta is ruled by Mars. Mars rules the 11th house of society, societal gains, societal power, societal acceptance, and Mars is placed in the 8th house. But in which sign? In the sign of Leo, which is ruled by Sun. So Ketu gives power to Mars, Mars gives power to the Sun. And who is Mars placed with? Rahu. And Rahu is also placed in the nakshatra of Magha, and Magha is also ruled by Ketu. And so Rahu adds to the power of communication of the 2nd house, because Rahu is placed in the nakshatra of Ketu. Ketu is placed in the 2nd house. So Rahu gives huge impetus, power along with Mars to communication skills. Secondly, I've said this many times over, that if a person talks about others, talks for others, communicates for others, does things for others, then Ketu surely supports the other person. So here, because Barack Obama would always talk about others, societal change, bringing or being chosen as a leader so that he could bring the success to other people's life, and hence Ketu also helped support his communication skills rather than negating him the success. So wherever Ketu is placed, if you are doing things for others, then you also get super success. So his Mercury and Sun together in the sign of Cancer, showing that I care for others, I stand up for others, all others, and Ketu going into the nakshatra of Mars, and Mars ruling the 11th house of societal success, Mars placed with Rahu in a strong Angakaraka yoga, Rahu itself placed in the nakshatra of Ketu, and through this strong signification, Barack Obama had great communication skills. Secondly, his 10th lord is Venus. Where is Venus placed? Venus is placed 9th to itself. And in which sign? In the sign of Gemini. Who rules Gemini? Again, Mercury. So his career is getting connected to Gemini, the sign of communication, the sign of also using hands. So both his communication skills in terms of his spoken language and his body language was absolutely fantastic. The other thing is, Jupiter does show retrograde here along with Saturn and in debilitation. Now Parashara tells us that a planet which is exalted but retrograde gives us challenging results. On the other hand, A planet which is in debilitation sign but retrograde in fact gives the opposite results and gives fantastic results, almost equal to being an exalted planet's results. Secondly, Jupiter is also in a very, very strong nature bhang with Saturn, and Saturn is in a very, very strong Sasha Yoga. And so Jupiter also has given strong credence to communication skills because Jupiter also rules the third house of communication here. Secondly, Jupiter also has the 9th house energies, but which is the 9th house sign here? The 9th house sign is Virgo, ruled by Mercury. So Jupiter ruling the third house, placed in the Lagna in a strong Nij Bhang, almost having the strength of an exalted planet because it is a debilitated planet which is retrograde. Secondly, Jupiter also adding strength to Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. Mercury going into the sign of Cancer, and Sun placed in the nakshatra of Mercury, and Moon itself going into an exalted placement in the 5th house of public performances, media. And so whenever he would come and stand on a platform, he would present himself as somebody who cared, because Moon is also about caring. He won the adulation of people. So all his planets are related to each other, talking to each other, supporting each other, giving him super success. And that's why Barack Obama won his presidential election after being just a senator for 4 years and enjoyed his success for 8 years as a president. And one of his biggest achievement was also the killing or the neutralization of Osama bin Laden and bringing the economy back from the brink after the subprime crisis of 2008. Now I want to show you another horoscope of a rags to riches story, and this is the horoscope of the writer J.K. Rowling, who is known very well for her series of Harry Potter. And if you know the life of J.K. Rowling before her novel came out in 1997, she was struggling. She had also gone through divorce, and she had also lost her mother. And her first book on Harry Potter came out in the year 1997 when she was in her Rahu and Mercury Dasha. Let's look at her placements. Ketu once again has gone into the 2nd house and in the sign of Scorpio, ruled by Mars. And Ketu is in the nakshatra of Jyeshtha. Jyeshtha is ruled by Mercury. So Ketu gives strong strength to the nakshatra of Mercury. Where is Mercury placed? Mercury is placed in the 11th house of societal recognition, societal success, and Mercury rules the 9th house of publications, publishing and books. So Ketu placed in the nakshatra of Mercury, Mercury going into the 11th of societal recognition while ruling the 9th house of publishing books. And because what she did was for children, for others, for entertainment of others, to give, as she said in many of her interviews, to help children dream big, to help children recognize their inner talent and bring them to the fore. And because her novel also talked about the poorest of the poor people, or those people or those children who are lowest of the lowest strata and their dreams coming true in a dream school, in a school of magic. And what is magic? Magic is represented by the 8th house, and Rahu and Jupiter both are placed in the 8th house in the sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. And Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is placed with Mercury in the 11th house, and Venus is also the Lagna Lord. And Jupiter also rules the 3rd house of communication here. So the 3rd house of communication connected to magic and with Rahu, and Rahu is also make-believe, and we know that the 8th house is also about make-believe, about something which is the virtual world, the magic world, the secretive world, and then placed in the 11th house in the sign of Leo, the Sun. And where is Sun placed? Sun is placed in the 10th house and very, very strongly placed. And Mercury's other sign of Virgo has Mars placed in it, and Mars also rules the second house of communication, and Mars is placed in the 12th house of the dream world, the other world, the nether world, which is what the Harry Potter story is all about. The school is in a magical world, in a make-believe world. And the ruler of Virgo is placed in the 11th house with Venus, which is the Lagna lord, which is also the 8th lord, and Moon is placed in the nakshatra of Uttara Falguni, which is ruled by the Sun. So Moon, or the birth nakshatra, being the nakshatra of Uttara Falguni, in the 11th house. Mercury and Venus also placed in the 11th house, while Mercury ruling the 9th house of publication, Jupiter being the 3rd house of communication and getting into the 8th house, and aspecting Ketu in the 2nd house and giving strength to it, and hence J.K. Rowling turned out to be the super success that she is in the world of publishing, in the world of storytelling. And she's the first billionaire who, through just one series of books, turned into an overnight success in the world of publishing. So friends, in short, it is very, very important that you develop your communication skills. You develop your ability to communicate, you develop your ability to converse, verbal language, non-verbal communication also, what words you use, how you are able to influence others, you are able to convince others. And only through your convincing skills, through your communication skills, will you be able to present what you want to say and be able to influence others and also bring them about to act in a manner which you want them to act. So look into your placements, understand where the strength of communication is coming from, or being able to give you more strength to use those communication skills related to those houses, related to those placements, and then try and use that to improve your life for big success, super success. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation for me, please reach out to me at the link given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is your friend, astrologer and guide Irfan, signing off.